Hello, I'm Adam Cherry for GB News Originals, and today we bring you something a little bit different. This is the first cyber farting case in British history. When I started as a political journalist, I did not expect to be going down this road, but here we go. Let's give it a try, shall we? So, Rhiannon Evans, a 25-year-old shop worker from Wales, was sentenced for sending explicit fart videos via WhatsApp. Between January and February 2025, Evans sent a series of videos to Deborah Printhirk, I hope I'm saying that right, I'm sure the comments will tell me if I'm not, with the first clip showing her placing the camera on her buttocks to audibly pass gas. Right. So, over subsequent days, she forwarded additional recordings, this is a very serious story, I shouldn't laugh, some featuring her grinning at the camera. Now, though her victim described feeling unsafe in her home, it's important to note that the videos contained no direct threats, violence, or explicit language beyond the awful fart sounds. Now, I would love to show you the fart videos. I really would, but they are not for the public domain. Well, at least I'm told they're not. Prosecutor Diane Williams categorised the acts as malicious, citing Evans' stated motivation to retaliate against perceived unfair treatment of her partner. Quote, "She suggested she wanted to send videos because she felt her partner was being treated unfairly. It was purely malicious. She was smirking throughout, found it hilarious, but the victim didn't." Neither do I. I don't find this funny either. However, defence lawyer Harriet Gorse countered that the messages stemmed from immaturity rather than calculated harm, noting that Evans' prompt guilty plea and remorse suggested that. She sent them, understanding now that this has caused the victim some distress. I mean, at least they're videos rather than, anyway. She sent them without malicious intent, Gorst argued. Now, what are the legal consequences of sending fart videos to your enemies? Well, for those interested, here is what can happen. The magistrates imposed a 12-month community order on Evans, which included several components. 15 rehabilitation activity days, 60 days of alcohol abstinence monitoring via an ankle tag, a 2-year restraining order banning contact with Printhirk, again, I hope I'm saying that right, £207 in fines and victim surcharges, and that's it. So the sentence reflects a growing judicial willingness to treat digital misconduct, is what I believe we're calling this, as equivalent to physical harassment, despite the absence of traditional threatening behaviour. This is like a new way of intimidating people, is just to send fart videos to them. And don't do it because you can get in serious trouble.
Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? What about random calls? It's really annoying, isn't it? Data brokers are out there collecting your personal information. Anything from your email, your full name, your address, and even your political affiliation. Cyber criminals can even use AI to mimic the voices of friends and family to trick people into sending them money. And it gets even worse. People out there are getting huge loans taken out in their names without even knowing about it. But don't worry, because the sponsor of this video, Incogni, can help. They reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information is removed from their databases. Incogni continues to make sure that your data is removed automatically from the internet via repeated removal requests. So, how can you get started? Well, step 1, hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account and tell us whose data you'd like removed. Step 2, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf. Step 3, sit back, relax and watch Incogni work. They will update consistently so you know when your data has been removed. Incogni is risk-free for 30 days, so you can try it for yourself and you'll get a free refund if the service isn't for you. So take back your personal data today with Incogni. Use the code GBNews using the link in the description below and you'll get 60% off an annual payment plan.
The decision to impose alcohol monitoring in particular is raising certain questions about the extent to which the court is attempting to address underlying behavioural issues rather than simply punishing the specific offence. The specific offence being sending fart WhatsApps. I mean, I'm not sure what the judge can specifically do about that alone. So, the case highlights several critical tensions in modern law and society. The prosecution argued that repeated unwanted messages, particularly of farts, I'm guessing, constituted psychological harm comparable to in-person harassment. This perspective reflects a growing recognition of the impact of digital communication on mental well-being. However, questions remain whether crude humour warrants criminal penalties rather than civil remedies like blocking contact or using platform-specific reporting mechanisms. I would suggest there were easier routes to go down than the court of law when someone is sending you loads of videos of them farting. But anyway, what do I know? The blurring of lines between digital and physical spaces in legal terms presents challenges for lawmakers and judges. There is a serious point about this as well. Our lives becoming increasingly intertwined with digital platforms. The legal system needs to grapple with that and needs to understand how to apply traditional concepts of harm and harassment to virtual interactions. So there is a serious point to be made here, if you can see it. While Evans claimed no malicious intent, prosecutors emphasised Prithik's lived experience of distress. So the dichotomy forces courts to weigh subjective perceptions against objective actions, a challenge amplified in digital context where tone and intent are easily misread, although in this case I think the intent was pretty clear. The case does raise important questions about the role of intent in determining the severity of digital offences. Should the law prioritise the sender's intentions or the recipient's experience? So if you receive a fart video and you feel really upset about it, does that trump, so to speak, does that trump the sender's intent to have a bit of a laugh and fart on camera because it's really funny? I promise this debate does extend beyond the realm of crude humour. It also encompasses broader issues of online communications, particularly cyberbullying and digital harassment. I promise you there's a serious justification to talking about this. With the courts facing record backlogs for real violent crime and fraud, as horrible as I'm sure this was, I think some would at least argue that devoting resources to cyber farting represents poor stewardship of the public finances. The allocation of police and court resources to cases like this may come at the expense of addressing more serious crimes, as horrifying as this is. The case prompts a broader discussion about how law enforcement and the justice system should prioritise digital offences in an era of, shall we say, limited resources. It also raises questions about the appropriate threshold for criminal prosecution in online disputes. Could the judges have spent their time more efficiently than dealing with WhatsApp videos of farts? I leave that to you. Please tell me in the comments what you think about that. Now, the probation report revealed that Evans' turbulent upbringing and ongoing mental health struggles, including a hostile relationship with her boyfriend's ex-partner, that may have contributed or influenced her actions. Now, of course, leaves questions about the interplay between mental health, digital behaviour, criminal justice system, all that. But ultimately, if you are sending fart videos to people, I would suggest you probably have got something wrong with you. Now, the decision to include rehabilitation activities in her sentence also suggests an acknowledgement of underlying issues that may have contributed to this bizarre behaviour. However, it also raises questions about whether this was the most appropriate venue for addressing mental health concerns in the courts rather than in other areas. Now, civil liberties advocates might warn that criminalising immature behaviour like fart videos sets a dangerous precedent for free speech. Yep, there's a free speech component to this as well, hear me out, because as digital communication dominates modern life, we all know that, expanding legal definitions of harassment to fart videos on WhatsApp could genuinely, potentially chill legitimate expression. The line between annoying and weird behaviour and criminal conduct becomes dangerously blurred, I would suggest, when passing wind warrants a restraining order. Just leave that with you, maybe think about that. The case prompts important questions nonetheless about the limits of free expression in digital spaces. How do we balance the right to engage in crude or offensive humour with the right to be free from harassment? Should the law treat digital communication differently from in-person interactions when it comes to free speech protections? These are meaningful questions, I promise you. What role should platform-specific community guidelines play in regulating online behaviour? as opposed to criminal law? Should Mark Zuckerberg himself have stepped in and said, no, you cannot send fart videos? Maybe that was a better use of everyone's time than the courts and judges actually getting involved in this. Anyway, one of the key issues highlighted by this case is the balance between personal responsibility and legal intervention in managing these sorts of conflicts. Critics argue that by criminalising Evans' behaviour, the court has effectively absolved Printher of any responsibility to manage that unwanted communication herself. She could have blocked her, she could have muted her, or so on. There are ways of handling this before it got to the court. So, broader questions to be had. Questions about digital literacy, questions about the expectations we place on individuals to navigate online spaces and handle their own fart videos when they receive them. To what extent should individuals be expected to handle this themselves, to manage unwanted digital interactions before seeking recourse under the law? How can education and awareness campaigners help empower individuals to deal with this stuff on their own? What role should social media platforms and messaging apps play in providing users with the tools to manage this themselves? So, I will argue this. The Evans case sets a potentially concerning precedent for the criminalisation of immature or offensive online behaviour. While the intent may have been to protect individuals from harassment, from awful fart videos, the broader implication of criminal law to digital communication could have far-reaching consequences, I promise you. There may be a chilling effect on free speech here, I promise you, because individuals may now self-censor out of fear that their online communication could be misconstrued as criminal harassment. There could be an innocent reason for sending a fart video. There really could be. While Rhiannon Evans' case was undeniably crude and disruptive, the elevation to criminal harassment is, I would say, a little bit extreme. The case underscores the need for some clearer guidelines distinguishing genuine threat from mere offensiveness in digital spaces. The £300 penalty and ankle monitoring imposed on Evans may satisfy short-term demands for justice, but I would say they risk normalising the criminalisation of immaturity, which I would argue is important. A precedent with far-reaching implications for free expression and personal liberty in the digital age. This is serious stuff. Ultimately, the case reminds us of the challenges we face in adapting our legal and social norms to the realities of the digital age. You can and will, I'm sure, see stuff that you don't want to see, but that's part and parcel of being online. Thanks for watching, bit of a different one this week. This has been Adam Cherry. Don't forget to subscribe to GB News' YouTube channel for all the latest info.